Let me first start by congratulating the awardees for 2020. And, um, and then I want to just briefly touch on what history has meant to me and again, how that played into storytelling, because stories were served up to me quite early. My family migrated from the South, as well as the other families on East Earlham Street, which is right behind the historic Germantown structure and building. And so the families moved in. It was an all black block. Story played a role because there really wasn't a sense of history at that point, as much as because most of the families wanted to forget their histories, or not necessarily to put it on in another box, to store it away, to stow it away, and not to open it. My family never went south again. I always say that in so many ways, I think when they packed up to go north, or sometimes I like to say up south, um, they brought with them the Southern sort of culture with them. And storytelling was a part of that. So, and a lot of the stories that were told were the stories that were rich in African American folklore. John Henry, the tales of Uncle Remus, but it was this sense of history came when I left Earlham Street, whether it was to go to school, the barbershop, and whatnot. And I always had a sort of a curious eye, and I was struck by these unusual, unique buildings. And it wasn't really until after leaving the Philadelphia Museum School of Art, which is now the University of the Arts, that I was introduced through my craft, through my gift, um, projects that dealt with African American history. And I got a call from National Geographic magazine. And this is Philadelphia's native son, Charles Blockson. And he was going to write a piece on the Underground Railroad. And I was going to illustrate it. So I had not met Charles at that time. So we were going to meet together with the people from National Geographic in Philadelphia. Where did we meet? We met in Germantown. We met, and I was reintroduced to those magical buildings, architectural buildings that so impressed me, because I knew there was some value, something there that I needed to unlock. And there was Charles Blockson to help me unlock it. And so all of the things that certainly, and maybe that I had stored away, was all of a sudden at my fingertips. Not only was these things at my fingertips, but it was my neighborhood. In other words, in so many ways, certainly I owned the history, and certainly we're descendants from the enslaved. But I owned, it was my neighborhood. It was the Johnson house, that structure that sat there, and that beautiful stone structure that I passed so often. Now, could I possibly been walking in the same footsteps as Harriet Tubman? So history, story, all of that came together. It all made sense. And not only did it make sense in terms of what I was gathering and whatnot, I could now look at the Uncle Remus tales differently. I could look at John Henry differently. They all had a different kind of meaning. And that past that my father, my mother, my grandparents didn't share, I had somewhat of an access to it. story, history, neighborhood, community, all of it was there. And so to receive a call from Tuami to accept this honor from the historic Germantown, I was back home. And I don't know, I mean, there is a power in all the awardees receiving this beautiful award and recognition. And but I could visit historic Germantown and walk 2 blocks to where I grew up.